everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on maybe the penultimate episode of Heaven Official's Blessing. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest. I asked Discord today, I was like, okay, yes or no, just tell me, is this the last episode of the season? And everybody was like, no. And I was like, okay, good. Pancake was like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes. So, I know there's at least one more episode of the season. Yay, that's exciting. I thought there was 12, but I wasn't sure because last season we had 11 episodes, and then later they had an OVA, which I watched all, in a row without a break. You all had to have a break, but I watched it straight forward. So we do get another episode. So I don't know if we'll have an OVA later on this spring after this last episode, or if it's just going to be a 12-episode season and that's going to be it. I'm not sure why the original Donghua season 1 only had 11 episodes and then the OVA, if they ran out of time and then they just released the OVA afterwards, because it's just kind of like an extra episode. It didn't really feel like an OVA, really, so I don't know, but I did the math. This episode's 24 minutes, and I was like, okay, well, that's better than 20. I did the math, the best that I could, and what I came to the conclusion of is that last season, the entire 11 episodes plus the OVA totaled 293 minutes. That was the whole thing. It had the penultimate episode was 32 minutes, and then the OVA was 21 minutes. And I was like, okay. Or the episode 11 was 32 minutes. Here, we have a total of 262 minutes so far. That's not counting next week, which should be the last episode, if I'm thinking correctly. So, if we want season 2 to be the same amount of time as season 1 plus the OVA, then next week's episode needs to be 31 minutes. And then the timing will be right. So do your math, put on your thinking caps. If next week's episode's not at least 31 minutes, we were robbed. No, we have not been robbed because this season has been absolutely wonderful. I would say episodes 8 and 9 are probably my favorite episodes of the whole Donghua so far, and that's not just because of Qi Rong. I think that they've just been the best so far of the series, and I've really, really enjoyed them. And that's not to take away from last episode. It was nice seeing, Xie Lian's history as the Goshi and all that's gone down, but I'm ready to go back to the present. It was heartbreaking last episode. Xie Lian just kind of bearing his soul and finally getting to be emotional around somebody, because Xie Lian's always kind of held it in, and he gets to be emotional. And who does he get to be emotional in front of? Hua Cheng, of all people. So exciting things. But yeah, so I have not reread volume 2 because I wanted to be surprised and get the nostalgia factor going with what happens in this episode. So I'm going to probably know what's going on, but I'll be right alongside you all not knowing how they're going to handle it or animate it. So, but yeah, I'm really, really excited. So if this week's 24 minutes, hopefully next week will be like a big season finale. That would be awesome. But if we don't get that, you know what? Oh well, what can we do? I mean, if we get like a 24-minute finale, then we're only going to be like 7 minutes off. Whatever, I guess. But we'll just have to see. So I'm really, really excited, though. I don't have any comments from last week. Everybody's comments were really good. I did read them all. They were great comments, but I just don't have anything that's worth mentioning that's extra or not noticeable. So next week might be different since it's the season finale, but... And while I'm also doing that, I'm also rounding out the novel over on the other reactions, so that's exciting. But yeah, I want to give a quick shout out over to Patreon, to our philanthropy tier, who have been super, super supportive. I wouldn't be able to buy the novels that I'm using for the reactions and pay for my subscription to streaming services without Patreon. So a special shout out goes to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Anna, to Be Happy, our A Heaven Official Blessing moderator over on Patreon, as well as Dana, to Danger Zone, to Destiny Marie, to Eric, to Kiri, to Lyndon, to Loisiji, as well as Matthew Palfinier, Sunspots, Trails, Shimoyama, a Nameless Monster, and Translucent Men. Thank you all so very much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love and support to those on Patreon as well, and YouTube for subscribing. Y'all know that jazz. It is appreciated. So I'm pretty excited. I've been at work all day, staying off of the social media because I wanted to be surprised. So it's about that time. So I'm going to hope that my dogs go and lay down somewhere and let me not throw his toy. I'm going to put it between my feet, and then he's going to be eternally mad at me. So we're going to get started on episode 11 of Heaven Official's Blessing, see what we get, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. We're now about to play Romania's new favorite game of what is a spoiler and what's not a spoiler. Because I have a lot of things I want to talk about with this episode, but then I'm like, wait, is that a spoiler? Do the Donghua onlys know this? What can I talk about? What can I talk about? I know how you all feel now. This season, as if anything, taught me that y'all have infinite patience and you have been really good at holding things back, because I haven't really been spoiled with Heaven Official's Blessing, but it's like, it's so hard because it's like, well, wait, do the Donghua onlys know this? Do they not know this? It's very complicated. So I don't know how long my actual discussion is going to be before we get to the spoiler corner, but we should talk about this. This episode was like, it was so tranquil and beautiful, and honestly, I could see where some people would be like, oh, nothing happened, but it was really, really important to establish the trust that is building between Hua Cheng and Xie Lian, and that they're both getting to a point where they're comfortable, like, talking. This was a date. This whole cave was a date. It was a date. It's like you and your man go on a date. You show up at this great place. You've heard some 5-star reviews. Turns out the owner's your cousin. It's not as great as he thought it was. And then your boyfriend busts it up. But then this other guy that you were like once a tutor for back, during your college days, he shows up, has beef with your cousin, causes a muck, and then he gets mad at you because you didn't tell him about your cousin back when you were tutoring him. And then, he went on his way, and your boyfriend's like, I still love you regardless. Oh my God, we need a modern AU where Xie Lian was the tutor of Lan Chanshu back in college, and now Qi Rong is like the owner of a 5-star Michelin restaurant, but he's actually garbage, and Hua Cheng is a health inspector out to stop him, right? A supreme health inspector supreme, right? You could have so many. Heaven Official's Blessing is perfect for alternate universes. You can literally do so many modern crossovers with modern professions of them. Like, it would be amazing. So Feng Xin, actually, he's a Sarune competitor professionally, but he like owns an armory on the side. I don't know. Mu Qing is a housekeeper. Mu Qing runs a cleaning shop. It's fun times. Anyway, so this episode was really good in terms of establishing just the dynamic between Xie Lian and Hua Cheng, because poor Xie Lian, like, he finally lets loose all of this emotion and all of this guilt he's been holding inside of his heart, and he just bears his soul to Hua Cheng. And Hua Cheng has ruined men for all of us. He's just ruined men. Hua Lian has ruined romance for all of us, because it's like, will we find a romance like this, where they're so communicative? Hua Cheng is so devoted to Xie Lian. He believes in him so much already, and Xie Lian's just like, and he doesn't believe in himself. It's like they've ruined romance for everyone, right? I did like the panoramic shots of the city that we got throughout this. It reminded me a lot of episode 1 of season 1. And then we get the people like making their way in and out of the city. That damn butterfly, here's what I thought was going to happen. Because we know that Lan Chanshu, we know from season 1 and from this season that Lan Chanshu, he basically killed Xie Lian. He thinks he killed Xie Lian, put him in a coffin, and he buried him for who knows how long. We know that, right? And that's what I thought based on what I've read in the books. And this isn't really a spoiler because it's talking about this portion right here. From the books, I thought he was placed in like a mausoleum or something. I don't know. But then why would you place the murder of your parents in a mausoleum? So that makes sense. He's out in the middle of nowhere. What I thought was going to happen was we're going to pan. I thought that like what I anticipated was in this opening shot, a lot of time had passed since whatever happened in the last episode, and we were gonna like come over to this cluster of trees, and Xie Lian's hand was gonna pop out of the dirt like Pet Cemetery style, and he was gonna like scrape the ground, and like it was gonna turn into a horror movie. I thought that's what's gonna happen, since it was kind of like lingering on that shot of the roots. I was like, is Xie Lian's hand gonna pop out zombie style? And take himself out. But no, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. Instead, we go underground and we see the little, his little, Lan Shu's little shippable friend. I can't believe the Donghua has made this guy like a big thing over on Twitter. Just like he's the best thing. And he's just in the book. But I love these Lan Shu's special friend, his sworn brother, right? And then I like that Lan Shu's character is kind of cemented though in this moment where he has the opportunity to take off the mask and see who it is. And if he saw who it was, because as they show us, Xie Lian and Anla look nearly identical. So if he took off the mask, he would probably be confused and be like, why do you just look just like Anla? What is this? And be like, and try to figure it out. But instead, I like Lan Shu. We get that little bit of character of him being dignified and saying, no, he wouldn't show me his face in life. I'm not going to take it off in death. We're going to leave it on. And of course, the mask of the butterfly. How dare. But yeah, but here's the thing. They took the spikes of the coffin, and like in the OP, we see them drive the spike, and we see in one of Xie Lian's flashbacks in an earlier episode, them driving the spike in. The spike like gets into his body. It goes through his body and causes all that blood, and that blood comes up onto his face. It looks like it starts to swirl around. It almost looks like a curse. It looks like a curse or some kind of spell almost, the way that it encircles him. Like, did the coffin have some kind of enchantment on it where it would like stay sealed for a certain amount of time? Because yeah, it like flows up his body and like flows to his mask and over his face. And then we go to the OP. Like, how much that would have hurt for Xie Lian to have been nailed into that coffin. Like, how long he would have been there, what that would have been like. Like, we get this little glimpse of Xie Lian's suffering. And we know how much he's mentally suffered just from the deed itself of killing Lan Shu's father. And then we get confirmation. I couldn't remember in the book if he killed Lan Shu, if he killed Anla or not. And it seemed like it was hinted when Qi Rong did the autopsy of Anla. He's like, oh, he was stabbed. But there wasn't like the confirmation. And here we kind of get the confirmation that Xie Lian killed Anla. But yeah, and so poor Xie Lian, him just being like, I'm going mad. And okay, can we talk about the subtitles before we get any further in this? The subtitles were not great in this episode. I'm really excited to watch both the Japanese sub because I usually watch anime in Japanese, so I want to see the voice actors that they're getting for these characters. So I'm excited to watch Japanese sub. Apparently it's on Crunchyroll now. And I'm really excited to see the English dub because at least with the English dub, I know that the voice actor for Hua Cheng is the screenwriter for season 2. So, and they're a novel reader, so they're going to have a lot of intuition into how to write the dialogue to match the novel and make it work. So it's always good, especially for an English dub, to have an ADR, like a voice acting director, that is knowledgeable of the content so that they can kind of help direct and understand how it should sound and what inflections and how the text should be for the script. So that's really nice. I'm excited. I haven't had time to watch it yet, but I was going to wait till I was done with season 2 and then go back and re-watch some of the episodes and have fun with that. So that's my goal. But this one moment where Hua Cheng is like, my bad. Such a stupid, I'm going to take a picture of it. That's such a stupid, I don't know. That's a really bad translation because it's just like this supreme ghost king telling his Gege, my bad. Like just womp womp. It's like the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme starts to play. But I just feel so bad for Xie Lian where he's like, I'm just a disaster. And he's like, and then he's like, you're not at fault. He's like, you killed the Emperor of Yong'an to protect the rest of Shanla. He's like, you had to do these things. There's 3 people that had to die. You had to kill the Emperor, Lan Shu's dad, so that Shanla wasn't wiped out. You had to kill Anla so that the feuds would end between the 2 clans, because otherwise it wasn't going to. And then you let Lan Shu kill you to avenge the murderer. 3 lives were sacrificed for everybody to be in peace. Which, that kind of goes back to this argument of the lives of the many outweigh the lives of the few, because that's always like the idealistic explanation and solution. They're like, well, you know, you need, yes, sacrifice yourself to save the many. I like that this series points out that that's not healthy a lot. It's like, yeah, it's like, yes, in a dire situation, like a do or die, end of the apocalypse scenario, sure, if you have to sacrifice yourself to save everyone else, sure. The problem with Heaven Official's blessing is the person that sacrifices themselves isn't dying. They're living on. And it's like, well, what is that like? Because we know Xie Lian survived the coffin somehow. By him being killed by Lan Chanchu didn't actually kill him. So how does that work? And so we know Xie Lian has stayed alive. And it's kind of like, well, what happens to the people that live through that? What does it do to them psychologically? And we're seeing with Xie Lian what is happening, and it's this just like this cycle of guilt and him being fine with self-harm, and it's like, that's not okay. That shouldn't be your go-to. And I think what Hua Cheng gets frustrated by is he's like, you don't have to bear this alone. He's like, you made a good decision. And there's a moment where Hua Cheng is looking at him and his hand is kind of like this, and I love the way that shot is. I want to take a picture of it. It's really beautiful. And he's just like, you know, those who extended goodwill shouldn't end up like this. And Xie Lian says that. He's like, the people that did, you know, they were trying to help should not have ended up dying. But that happens so often. It's not fair, but it happens. And poor Xie Lian, when he was crying and like shedding tears and wiping his eyes and getting all red, it was like, it was so sad. And he's like, it's just nonsense. And then he gets sorry. You know, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And just hating why he's like this. He's like, what change did it make? And then, yeah, to see Xie Lian with the tears in his eyes as he's stabbing Lan Chanchu's dad, because it's somebody he worked with for 5 years. It's someone he respected that knew was trying to do good. And he's like, I have to be the one to do the killing blow for you, because otherwise all of this is going to fall apart. And it's heartbreaking. It's so sad. Like, I really feel for Xie Lian, right? Because you have, like, in a lot of series, you have sunshine characters that are like these big rays of sunshine. They're cinnamon buns, they're innocent, and Xie Lian comes across as that. But we've seen over the course of these 2 seasons that there's so much more to Xie Lian, and he's hiding so much pain under this mask of kindness and jovialness that's like, we're starting to see the cracks under the surface, and it's really sad. And Hua Cheng is so kind, where he's just like, no, you know, you did the best you could. No one else could have done better. It's okay. Man, seeing Xie Lian, though, side by side with Anla, it's so wild for a number of reasons. One, because they look so similar. And 2, it's so sad because Xie Lian showed himself to Anla, but didn't to Lan Chanchu. And it's like, And he's like, do you realize the mistake you've made? And Anla's not even listening. He's like, no. He's like, with you by our side, he's like, we can wipe out everyone. We can work to achieve greater things together. And Xie Lian's like, he's like, you took after my cousin instead of me. Why? But they really do look very, very similar. And I hate it. He's like, killing. And Xie Lian has a big point. He's like, killing is still killing. At the end of the day, he still feels bad about it. And it's like, oh, I just want to hug him. I want to give Xie Lian the biggest hug. And I wanted Hua Cheng to give him the biggest hug. I was like, Hua Cheng, you can give him a hug. Come on. You guys went on a cave date together. It's okay. Give him the damn hug. But he doesn't do it. No, he doesn't do it at all. And then he touches the statue of him smiling and breaks it. Oh, just sad central. And there's a lot of times in this moment that you know that Hua Cheng wants to say something and he's holding himself back. And he's like, okay, we'll go save all the people. I like that the rest of the minions of Qi Rong are instantly like, here's the people. They're just like, here you go, sir. Thank you. Can we go now? I love it. I love the minions are instantly like, the moment Qi Rong is gone and Hua Cheng like throws down his BDE, they're like, oh yes, no, we actually here. Okay, here we go. And then I was hoping we'd see Goozy, like the little kid, but No such luck. We don't see Goozy at all. Which, it wouldn't make sense for him to be in the cells because he ran away. So I didn't know if we'd see like that the goblins had captured Goozy and his dad and put them back in the prison or not. But no. Nope, we don't get to see that. And then there's a moment where, you know, Xie Lian is like, so how did you know that it wasn't Qi Rong pulling the strings? And there's a moment where it starts to zoom in on Hua Cheng's face, and he's just like, what are you talking about, Xie Lian? What do you mean, how did I know? It's like the best moment. It's just like this look on his face like a deer in the headlights, like, why would you ask that? And he gives the most scholarly answer. He's like, well, by my Sherlock deductions, I can easily point out that this, and this is the reason why. And Xie Lian's like, well, that all adds up, but that's awfully, it's like you had the problem in front of you the whole time and you just managed to figure it out. But how'd you have the problem in front of you? How did you know? Like, do I know you from the past? Xie Lian is asking all the right questions, but Hua Cheng is not giving him an answer. And it's like, you're like, if you just say yes or no, just answer the question. But Hua Cheng doesn't get to answer the question because that's about the time that the Windmaster shows up with Feng Xin. But yeah, he gives his spiel to Xie Lian, and then they go up there, and Xie Lian's like, well, you knew quite a bit, but, you know, how did you know, there's an important premise to all of this. Why did you trust so firmly that Qi Rong was the one behind it? And this answer, like, to the bottom of my heart, when Hua Cheng is like, I didn't know it was him, but I knew it wasn't you. Just invent romance. Just write a book. Just give it here. It's like that faith he has in Xie Lian and that trust. He's like, I knew it couldn't have been you. I didn't care who it was, but I just knew it wasn't you. Just mwah, chef's kisses all around. Right? Chef's kisses all freaking around. And Xie Lian just has the star eyes. Like, how could you not? How could you not, this tall, dark, and handsome man? And then he's like, your reasoning all makes sense. And I like that Hua Cheng tries to have this little cat's face, like, see? That's why. Like, it's more deadly than a smolder. More deadly than a smolder. I'm just like, Hua Cheng, like, Xie Lian, I know that Feng Xin and Windmaster are your besties, but do you really need to go back to the heavenly realm? Could you just go to Paradise Manor with him? And he says, and Xie Lian's like, but deep down my heart, what if I really do think that way? And he's like, well, so what if you do? You wouldn't act on it. And then Xie Lian's like, you know a lot about me. And that's when he says, you shouldn't think too highly of people and put them on pedestals, because perfect illusions will eventually shatter. And Xie Lian, he's just like, you don't need to think so highly of me. I'm not this innocent, sweet cinnamon bun that's, perfect like you think I am. And here's the thing. I don't think Hua Cheng thinks that Xie Lian's a perfect cinnamon bun. I think he believes that he's jaded. He knows he's a killer. So he's like, I think he knows just what Xie Lian's been capable of. But regardless, he still trusts him. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And Hua Cheng is like, for some people, he's like, that may be. You may have done all these things and you may not be perfect. But for some people, the mere existence of someone in this world is hope. And Xie Lian's like, what? Like the doki doki, the heart starts beating. Yeah, Hua Cheng is like, for some people, just someone existing is hope enough. Which could not be more on the nose talking about Xie Lian. Like, he believes the existence of Xie Lian is hope in itself for reasons. And that negates all of the negative aspects that could be there. And it's like, that is called faith. And it's beautiful. And then, yeah, we get the big, beautiful, like, stream of light there. And Xie Lian's like, you know who I am. How do you know? Have I met you before? But then Xie Lian backtracks, because when he asks, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm not supposed to know a ghost's real name. Qi Rong is just so flamboyant and so, like, has the balls that he just calls himself that, even though his name from long ago was Qi Rong as well. And Feng Xin knows him. So hopefully we'll maybe get some more backstory on Qi Rong. Maybe. Hopefully, since Feng Xin knows him as well. And Xie Lian's like, it's that one. And he's like, really? Which is funny because at first I remember reading the novel, and this isn't a spoiler because it's just happened in the episode, but I remember reading the novel and thinking Function is surprised that it's that Qi Rong, but when Xie Lian says ghosts, their names are kind of secret and they don't usually say them out loud because that's who they were in the past, it makes sense, like, why would you use that name? But it's Qi Rong. He is dumpster fire incarnate. So yeah. So Xie Lian backtracks and Hua Cheng's like, no, you're fine. And then the Windmaster shows up, which I love the Windmaster to death. Windmaster is maybe one of my favorite characters. Love them. My shirt is matching their ensemble. I feel it. The only thing I wish with the Windmaster is, here's the thing. The Donghua team knew if they gave the Windmaster the black hair and green eyes, she would be too hot. Too much power. They couldn't make her go back to the male form. Nobody would care. Nobody would want to see the male form of her if she looked, like the male form with boobs. Nobody would want that, and they were like, okay, fine. Plus, the Windmaster's female form has kind of like the Windmaster's female form has the trans flag colors basically on there, right? Has the pink, the blue, and the white. And the black hair and green eyes don't match that color scheme as well. So the brown hair and hazel eyes match it better. So I get why they did it, but I do love the Windmaster's male form. I think it's prettier, oddly enough, but I like it the color-wise, but green's my favorite color, so maybe that's why. But yeah, I just love the Windmaster is this perpetual ray of sunshine. They're like, found you, Your Highness. And just, as Xie Lian says, just blows away the gloom. Right? You need a friend like that. Everybody needs a sunshine friend in their friend group that is just instantly, infectiously happy all the time. Right? I'm amazed that Function made it as far with the Windmaster, considering they don't like women. I'm surprised he made it that far. I also love when they're like confronting the Crimson Rain Sought Flower, the Windmaster like has their fan like, yeah, I got it, and Function's got like one arrow, and Hua Cheng is like, bitch, you for real? Xie Lian's like, no, this is not gonna work. But I like that the Windmaster is all about trying to pay off the debts of Paradise Manor, being like, we'll compensate you and pay you back for your manor, and Hua Cheng is like, I don't care about that place at all, right? Meanwhile, Function is more like, I want my frenzy back. I want to get my friend Xie Lian back. There is a very protective nature about Function where he's very protective over Xie Lian. He's like the friend that when you're in a friend circle and you start dating someone, he's the friend that's like, are you sure they're good enough for you? Are you sure they're good enough for you? Because I heard this rumor about them that they might not be good enough for you and you need to get away from them. That's literally Function. Function is like, I don't trust him, Xie Lian. I don't know if you should date him. He ain't good enough for you. Get out of there. But we, the audience, know Hua Cheng is amazing for Xie Lian. So it's like, Function, calm down. Down, boy. He's like a dog. Down, boy. But I love this standoff between them. I know some people want to try to ship Function and Xie Lian. No, I can't do that. I don't judge you if you do, because I think some people like the love triangle-esque aspect of Hua Cheng and Function and Xie Lian. I just don't see them like that. I see Function more as like Xie Lian's best bro friend and or like brother in arms. He is the sworn brother. The moment that the Windmaster's like, and the Crimson Rain Sought Flower, your sworn brother. I'm like, we gonna call it that, huh? Interesting. I also like the Windmaster gets a magical girl transformation at every turn, and they have the whisk. They're just so perfect. I love the Windmaster. And I like that Hua Cheng is just like, here's why we were in the cave, having fun, and you guys came to ruin our good time. And then that's when they talk about Qi Rong being the one from their past. And then the Windmaster's like, I have no clue what's going on. But the fact that you're related to a calamity is so impressive. I love the Windmaster. They're so sweet. They're absolutely adorable. So then they decide that they need to go back to the Heavenly Realm and report everything. And of course, Hua Cheng ain't gonna stick around. He's gonna go off to the Ghost City and do his own thing. But not before it's being, like, Function should have just backed off. Because Hua Cheng's like, are you telling the Crown Prince not to mix with a monster like me? And Function's like, yes. And then what happens? Hua Cheng's like, fine. I'm gonna rain blood down on you like Nickelodeon Slime Fest. I like that the Windmaster slowly backed away like, I don't want to get dirty. The Windmaster picked up on the cue real quick, being like, no, your name is Crimson Rain Sought Flower. I saw an umbrella come up. I've put two and two together. And Feng Shen just did not put two and two together. Bless him. And it just like soaks him. And he just looks like a drowned rat. And I like that. Xie Lian even laughs at it. He's like, Xie Lian's like, it's like, you know, you're friends and you don't want to laugh, but it's really funny, so you do anyway. That's how you know you're close to someone, right? If you can't laugh about it. Mm-hmm. And I love that the Windmaster tries to like wipe it off his face and it just smears. Like tries to use the whisk. I'm surprised the Windmaster tried to use the whisk because the whisk getting dirty seems against the Windmaster's principles, but the Windmaster can't help but help people, so they're just too nice, right? And then Hua Cheng leaves. And Xie Lian running towards him. Like, Xie Lian was almost getting ready to leave. Like, Feng Shen and Windmaster behind and go with Hua Cheng. And Hua Cheng's like, well, you can come with me to the Ghost City instead of the Heavenly Realm. And Xie Lian's like, I should probably go back, but I'll see you again soon. I hate it. I hate Hua Cheng leaving him. I don't want that to be the case. I'm like, no, especially because Xie Lian is so sad right now. Like, I know the Windmaster's there and it made him feel better, and Hua Cheng's words helped, but Xie Lian's still in a bad place. And so it's like, you don't want to see Hua Cheng leave him. And it's like, oh, please don't. But what can we do? And then he's like, well, I'm sure you'll see me again. And then he just waves and disappears. And that's all we get. So, we have one more episode left. I hope it's a long one. I hope it's 31 minutes. I hope it's a freaking long episode. I need it. I need it. But we'll see, I guess. I got spoilers I want to talk about. So if you're not sticking around for the spoiler corner, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. It just, my heart, Hua Lian, just piercing right through it. So I want to talk spoilers, but if you're not sticking around for those, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back next week with more, the final episode of the Donghua of Heaven Official's Blessing. Did I make it out without spoiling anybody? It's really hard. This episode was really hard because I was during the reaction, I would be like, I wanted to be like that, and I was like, you can't do that. What is going on? But there we go. Oh my God. So I'm not gonna lie. When this episode started, I thought we were doing the flashback. When this episode started, I thought, because the buildings had a little bit more animation to them, a little bit more CGI, and the kids were like roaming through, and the kids had like the Shanla symbols on their foreheads. I was like, are we about to do the flashback now? I thought we were gonna pan out, and then they showed the carts with the people going through, and I thought they were like the immigrants from Yong'an coming, and I thought we were gonna see Long Ying. I thought when we panned to that little cluster of roots, I thought it was going to be like the origin of the human face disease. I thought we were going to see Long Ying with his son in a sack heading towards there. I thought we were just going to skip right to the flashback. So for about 10 seconds, I panicked internally. I don't know if y'all noticed that in the reaction, but I was like, huh? What's happening? Because I was like, are we skipping all of this to get here? I mean, I don't think the Donghua would do it, but I was like, I was having a mini panic attack, and then the moment we went down to the coffin, the moment we saw the butterfly, I was like, okay, wait, what? And then we went down to the coffin, and I was like, this is all new. What? So, Hua Cheng, as the butterfly, seeing everything related to Xie Lian, even when he's not looking. That is one thing. It's not on Whiteboard Coon. It's not on Whiteboard Coon, and if you've seen this week's novel reaction, you know I didn't bring out Whiteboard Coon. I'll let him have a week off. We'll bring him back next week for the novel, but I let him have the week off because he deserved it after the last several weeks of the novel. But the one thing about the coffin, and I don't want answers yet because I want to figure it out in the novel if we get to it, is that Xie Lian was nailed into that coffin by Lan Chanchu. How long was he in that coffin, and how did he get out? I guess he pushed himself out eventually, but it was supposed to be like 3 layers triple sealed. Did Hua Cheng help him out? I'm assuming maybe in the extras we might find out, because I'm at the point in the novel where we're nearing to the extras, so maybe that's going to be the case. We'll see, I guess. I really wish MXTX would give Lan Chanshu's attendant a name. They need a name. I know that the voice actor for Hua Cheng has given him a name, but I want MXTX to do it since it's her character. Right? That just sucks. The whole thing. I don't know if the blood swirling and Xie Lian saying who's there. Oh my God. The blood swirling around his mask and everything. I don't know if there's something to that. I'm assuming we might find out later in the extras, maybe. I don't know. It's something new. But God, Xie Lian just, this preview, this season of Xie Lian suffering, I know it's nothing yet. I know we ain't got to book 4 yet. And I'm like, but it's hard to watch now. And I'm like, I'm not going to be ready for when they animate book 4. I'm not going to be ready for that. If they get to that, maybe we were talking about this and saying like, what would be the better scenario? Because someone in the chat, in the Discord, was saying that they thought that the Donghua studio would just have 3 seasons like they've done for Modazushi of the Donghua. I don't think they can do that. I think that either they need to make a 3rd season with the flashback and just stop, or they need to keep making seasons until they cover the whole novel series. And I know they'd be like 8 or 9 seasons, but I would rather have them get to a certain point and just stop the series and then pick it back up later than trying to mash it all. I don't think they can. I don't think they can mash it all together, the rest of the novel contents, in one extra season. There's no way. This one episode was like 2 chapters. There's no way they could cover like 200 chapters. What is this, Haikyuu? They can't do that. No. So I hope that they keep making seasons and the show will keep being popular. I hope that is the case. God, I hope it's the case. Because some of these scenes from the later books, I'm like, they're the better books. Animate that. But they're also a lot more gory and violent. So I don't know if that's going to be the case as well. But God, seeing Xie Lian animated so sad and seeing Hua Cheng like just silently having to sit there and he's so supportive. He just sits there and lets Xie Lian freak out, but he's there to support him sitting beside him. But just seeing Xie Lian here, we think he's at his lowest point. He's hit rock bottom way harder before, but for Hua Cheng to be there and be supportive, it's so good. I need more of it, right? I need more of it. And so, yeah, and then seeing the perspective of Xie Lian killing the Emperor and then seeing him with Anla, like, it's just heartbreaking. It's really, really sad. There were a couple things that I wish were done a little bit differently in this than they were in the Donghua compared to the novel. One was the scene where Xie Lian goes up to the statue and touches it. Because in the novel, if I'm remembering correctly, in the novel, the statue is there. Xie Lian's sad. He's gone through his big purge, and Hua Cheng has tried to comfort him. And he goes up to the statue almost like he's looking to the statue as some kind of support. And in the novel, the moment he touches it, it crumbles. It's just like it was barely hanging on by a thread and it just goes. But in this, he destroys the statue, so it's a little different. So I'm not saying it's worse or better, but it's a different vibe. And I kind of like in the novel kind of the symbolism of Xie Lian touches the statue and it just crumbles beneath him. It's indicating like where his soul is at that point. I like it a little bit better in the novel. The other part was when Hua Cheng did the umbrella, it drizzled on Feng Shen. Let's be real. It was like a drizzle of blood. In the novel, it's like Nickelodeon, like MTV Awards, slime bucket of blood. It's like Carrie, the horror movie, where it's just like just gets all over Feng Shen. I was expecting that. I was expecting Windmaster to be like, nope, backs into the cave, and then it just like soaks him head to toe. But instead it just like drizzled all over him and made Feng Shen look sexily covered in blood. Right? Also, I was trying so hard. I wondered if they would show us Guzi at all in this, but they want us to forget about Guzi. The Donghua wants us to forget about Guzi, forget about his dad, because he's going to be at that damn mausoleum, and he's going to be inside the mausoleum, and then Xie Lian's going to be like, who the fudge are you? And he's like, I'm Guzi from before. And then Qi Rong's going to pop out and be like, ha-ha, surprise, bitch! So I thought for a hot second we might see Guzi in the jail cells, like getting re-released, but the show does not want you to remember them. The show wants you to forget about them so they can be a surprise later. And I don't blame them. It's going to be great if we get to it. We're definitely getting to the mausoleum next episode. The question is going to be if we're going to get to the flashback or not. That it's going to depend on how long the episode is, for sure. Right? And then I was trying not to say too much about Hua Cheng, knowing about Xie Lian, because at this point, we don't know that's the crazy thing is in volume 2, going back and watching this season, we really don't know a lot. We think that we do. We think we know everything. I remember reading this part of the novel being like, I know so much about Hua Cheng. I know so much about Qi Rong. I know so much about Xie Lian. Oh, I'm so informed. And then you get like 2 chapters into volume 3 and you're like, I know shit. I know nothing. So I just love, I was trying so hard not to say yes, because I loved getting all these little moments of Hua Cheng and talking to Xie Lian and Xie Lian trying to piece together, and he's so close to figuring it out, but the mystery is just right on the edge of our tongues. And I forgot volume 2 did that, where they just leave the mystery like dangling right on the edge of a knife and you just can't get to it. It's like, ugh. So, I was trying not to spoil. I hope I didn't. I'm sure some of you Dongwo people are like, Romania, you getting so close. And I just love Hua Cheng where he has like the little smile on his face, like, oh, Xie Lian, I have done nothing wrong. It's like the Mona Lisa Saperstein, like, just smile, where he's like, it's fine when it comes from you. It's just shoddy self-accusation. And Xie Lian's like, what? I just love they can talk with one another like this. And they're building this relationship. I absolutely love it. I love seeing it animated so much. But yeah, seeing that whole thing with them smashing and stamping against the statue, we ain't even to the devastating stuff yet. Oh no. Absolutely not. And he's like, are you someone from my past? I didn't want to say what it was. And then the Windmaster shows up. Remember when the Windmaster not only had their powers, but was happy? Remember how next season... Here's the thing. It's not next season that's going to destroy that. No. It's the season after that that's going to destroy that. It's going to be like, the Windmaster's so great. And then, actually, you know what would be kind of fun? If they didn't want to do a season of Volume 3, the flashback, could they do the flashback arc in a movie? Would that even be possible to do in 2 hours? Would it? I feel like they could do it in 2 hours, animate a movie about the flashback. I feel like they could, but I don't know. Ugh. That's really hard, right? Because technically this season is going to be about 4 hours. So, or it's more than 4 hours. So that's really hard to try to condense an entire flashback arc into that amount of time. Ugh, that would be hard, but I could almost see them do that, but what we do. So, yeah, and I like that Xie Lian's like, no, everything's fine. The Windmaster takes it a lot better with their understanding of what's happening and them trying to, like, do the communication array and everything. Also, now that we realize that Junwoo, who they are, them knowing all of this when everything's going on is definitely something. But Function, man, I like Function being loyal like he is, but it makes sense, again, seeing Function later on in the flashbacks and knowing how much he wanted to try to help Xie Lian. It is, I wish the bucket of blood had been thicker going over Function, but oh well. I don't know. I'm going to be very curious to see what we get next episode. If we get anything with Ming Yi, if Heshan shows up. If we get anything with Junwoo. How we'd get to the mausoleum. Because even though Xie Lian did get a pep talk from Hua Cheng, we know that he's still in really bad spirits and is likely to go back to that mausoleum. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I want to transition to the flashback. I want all the things. Right? But I'm also glad now that I've gotten to the point of the story knowing that eventually it's fun to know that Function was so against Hua Cheng from the beginning. And by the end of the story, he kind of warms up to Hua Cheng and he's like, you really do love Xie Lian, don't you? And it's like the meme where the astronaut has the gun to the other astronaut's head and Hua Cheng's like, always have. Right? That's literally what it is. He's like, I've always loved him. What are you talking about? What are we doing? But yeah. And then them under the umbrella. You can stand under my umbrella, Ella, A. And Xie Lian laughing at it is just that little dark humor Xie Lian has inside of him. But I'm always sad to see Hua Cheng leave the episode. I also remember about this time I thought that once Hua Cheng left, we weren't going to see him again. Lies. We just had to get through the flashback first. So, I'm really hoping we get a long episode next week and that we get up to the mausoleum scene and then we get some flashback. That would be an amazing place to end on. Be great. And then what would even be better is if later on this spring they did an OVA. That would be awesome. And then do more of the flashback. That would be great. But I don't know if we'll get that or not. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I really liked this episode. It was very low key, but it was very thematically important that we established some trust and development between Xie Lian and Hua Cheng. So there's that. But I'm going to be very curious to see what we get next episode. That's for sure. So we'll see, though. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please no spoiler hints or clues because I still need to finish the extras of Volume 8. So I've still got those to read. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, next week, the season finale, if you can believe it, of Heaven Official's Blessing. Bye.